It finally happened. After nearly a decade of dispute, Iranian and international negotiators agreed on the first steps toward limiting Iran's nuclear program. In exchange, the world will ease the economic sanctions crippling the country.
The accord was reached after 4 days of negotiations in Geneva, where VOA senior correspondent Pessin monitored the process. On assignments, Martin Secrest caught up with him to get the inside story.
Let's talk about the agreement itself. Now, this is, as I understand it, is a two-part agreement, at least at the beginning. What is in this first part? What does Iran need to do?
Well, Iran needs to do quite a lot, actually. They need to stop enriching uranium to 20% purity. That's close to weapons grade. It's a short jump from there to the purity that you need to make a nuclear weapon. And they need to dilute or otherwise convert the 20% enriched uranium that they have to a lower level of purity, and they need to allow intrusive inspections to prove it, and they need to freeze various other aspects of their nuclear program, including, importantly, the construction of a heavy water reactor that would otherwise have come online early to mid next year. And the reason that's important is that once it comes online, it can't be hit by a military strike because there would be a release of radioactive material. In return, the international community is easing a few of the, what I would call, more peripheral type of sanctions. The impact of the sanctions on ordinary Iranians is believed to be what propelled the relatively moderate candidate Hassan Rouhani to the presidency in last May's election, making this accord possible. The former British ambassador to Iran, Richard Dalton, believes Iranian officials, including the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, have made a strategic decision to do what's necessary to put the nuclear dispute and the economic sanctions behind them.
They will not be saying to themselves, we just have to sit this one out and we will emerge with an economy that can trade with the rest of the world freely. I believe they will go all out in this 6-month period to achieve a comprehensive agreement.
Al, you were in Geneva when this agreement finally was hammered out in the early hours of the morning. Talk about what happened there.
Well, it was really a unique experience in my career. We were there Friday night until about 2 o'clock in the morning anticipating an agreement. There was none. We came back on Sunday to the press center. And finally, at about 2:40 or so in the morning, the photographers and video cameramen got a notification to be across the road at the UN at 3:15 in the morning, Sunday morning. And that's when we knew shortly after that the Twitter announcements started to come. And we knew that there was an agreement. And so you had a situation where the diplomats had to do their most difficult work, hammering out those final clauses, final compromises after midnight. A key dispute that delayed the accord was over Iran's claim to a right to enrich uranium, which the United States says does not exist for any country. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif spoke passionately about the right to enrich, but his phrasing indicated the agreement recognizes Iran's program, but not any right.
Iran's self-proclaimed right to enrich uranium. Iran has talked a lot about that. What does that mean to Iran?
The question of whether this right exists is based on the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which says all countries have the right to peaceful uses of nuclear energy. You can't do that without having enriched uranium, whether you enrich it or someone else enriches it and you buy it. So many countries, not just Iran, believe that this sort of a right to enrich is part and parcel of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, whether it's exactly expressed or not. The West has a different view. They say, yes, you have the right to peaceful uses of nuclear power, but you don't have a quote-unquote right to enrich. So they finessed that in this agreement.
Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu has called this agreement an historic mistake. What is the regional reaction, aside from Israel, to this agreement?
Well, there's a lot of skepticism, and Prime Minister Netanyahu certainly, I suppose, probably at the top of the list of skeptics, but I think there are a lot of skeptics among Gulf Arab leaders. And I think there are probably some skeptics in the U.S. government and in the other governments that negotiated the deal. This is a let's see how it goes. President Obama himself said that it was worth testing the intentions of the new Iranian government, so let's test it. And that's what this is. It's a test, and we'll see how it goes.
And again, that was VOA's Al Pessin in London. Now, observers say this agreement with Iran may affect more than just the nuclear issue. They say it could make it more likely for Iran to join talks on Syria, where Tehran is, of course, a major player.